Hi, my name's Kirsty Applebaum. I'm the author of The Middler, which is published by Nosy Crow. The Middler tells the story of an 11-year-old girl called Maggie Cruz. She lives in a very isolated town called Fenniswick, and this town has a boundary all the way around it, and no one is allowed out and no one is allowed in. I'm going to start off today by just reading you the prologue, which is very short. It's just 4 sentences long. Okay, and it goes like this. Our eldest, Jed, got born first out of all of us. Our youngest, Trig, he got born 4 years later. And me, Maggie, I was in between, the middler, worse luck. So we know from that prologue that Maggie is a middle child and that she's not all that happy about it. And the reason she's not all that happy about it is that in her town, only the eldest children are considered special. The book is set at the end of a long, hot summer, and it's the first day back at school, and we join Maggie and her brothers, Jed and Trig, as they go to school and they have an assembly. And during this assembly, the mayor comes in, and the mayor has a very important announcement to make. She says that wanderers have been spotted close to the town boundary. Now, this is very serious news and very frightening. Maggie's very scared, and not just Maggie, the whole school is scared. The mayor says that the wanderers are dirty, dangerous and deceitful, and she keeps repeating it. They're dirty, dangerous and deceitful, but she says the one way to keep yourself safe is to never go beyond the boundary. However, what's the first thing Jed wants to do as soon as they get home from school? He wants to go straight down to the boundary hunting for wanderers. And Maggie's scared, but Jed's an eldest, so of course they all go. So Jed, Maggie and their younger brother Trig, and another friend of theirs, Lindy, who's also an eldest like Jed, all go down to the part of the boundary which is made of a hawthorn hedge. And that's the bit I'm going to read to you now. After school, we changed out of our uniforms and went up to the cemetery, right out near the hawthorn boundary, hunting for wanderers. It was Jed's idea. Come on, he called down. Who's coming up next? He was balanced in the tallest tree, legs dappled by the leaves and the sun. Looked like he was wearing camouflage. The branches rippled in the heat. Me and Trig and Lindy all squinted up. Look! Jed pointed south, past the red-berried hawthorn. Grandad Cruz's watch glinted on his wrist. I can see for miles. My heart kadunk, kadunk, kadunked under my t-shirt. Can you see any wanderers? Trig shaded his eyes with both hands. Course not yet, said Jed. We've got to watch and wait. He was really high. My stomach swirled just looking at him. Do you think the mayor will give us a reward? I shaded my eyes too. You know, if we find one, will she read out our names in assembly? Jed laughed. You're never going to spot one, Maggie. You're just a middler. You're too scared to even climb up here. Yeah, you're always too scared of everything. Lindy elbowed me and Trig out of the way. Watch out, Jed. I'm coming up next. Jed grinned. It was his idea of heaven, sitting on a branch with Lindy all to himself. She walked between the 2 graves set under the tree. The headstones had ancient names carved into them, William Whittington and Georgina Millicent Cruz. Georgina Millicent Cruz was my great-great-great-great-grandmother. Funny how the cemetery smelled of grass and soil and sap-laden trees, when actually we were surrounded by old dead relatives. Lindy got a knotty handhold on the trunk and found somewhere to put her first foot. She pulled herself up and found a second foothold, then a third, a fourth, a fifth. She didn't have shorts on like me. She was wearing a stupid white dress that showed her underwear if she even just climbed over a stile. She was nearly up to Jed. My mouth went dry. They were right. I was scared. Of climbing, of hunting for wanderers, of everything. So what, though? So what? We were never going to find one anyway. Jed held out his hand to Lindy. She grabbed it. She leaned away from the trunk and let go with her other hand. Her foot slipped on the dry bark. Their hands slid apart. Her stupid dress blew up around her waist. She bounced head first off the William Whittington gravestone and landed on the ground, blood all over her face. She lay there, still as you like. The sound her head made on the gravestone replayed itself in my ears. Crunk, like being whacked with a brick. Crunk. Her pants were white, with little blue flowers on them. Forget-me-nots. I stepped forwards and pulled her dress down. It wasn't right for the boys to be seeing all that. No one screamed. No one shouted. Jed said something unrepeatable, but he said it really quiet, like his voice had been squashed by the shock. Then he half scrambled, half jumped down from the tree. He tried pulling Lindy up, but he couldn't lift her. Her blood got all over his hands. He pushed his hair out of his eyes and left a messy red stripe across the side of his head. Lindy, he said in his squashed voice. Lindy, Lindy, Lindy. She's dead, I said. No, she's not. She can't be, said Jed. We have to do something. And we stood there, all three of us cruise kids, looking down at Lindy Chowdhury with her white dress and her bloody face and her long dark hair spread out on the grass. You have to check if she's breathing. It was Trig. Trig, who can't even hop or run or tie proper reef knots. If she's not, you have to breathe for her. First aid. We did it in school, remember, ages ago. He swallowed. And one of us has to run for help. Jed knelt down next to Lindy. I'm not leaving her. You go, Maggie. Me? Quick, Maggie. You got to run. So I ran. So that's an excerpt from The Middler by me, Kirsty Applebaum, published by Nosy Crow. Thank you for listening. It's been lovely spending time with you. See you again soon. Bye.